Okay, good morning. We're going to call this joint meeting of the Martin County School Board, the City of Stuart, the Martin County Commission, and the Village of Indiantown. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Happy New Year to everyone that I haven't seen in our first joint meeting of the new year. Hope it's better than 2020. So we'll start with introductions. I'm Marcia Powers. I'm Chair of the Martin County School Board.
And I'm Krisha Lee Roberts, District 1, Martin County School Board.
Victoria Deffenthaler, District 3, Martin County School Board.
And we will go to Mayor Clark.
Mayor Eula Clark, City of Stuart.
Merritt Matheson, Vice Mayor, City of Stuart.
Mike Meyer, Commissioner, City of Stuart.
Becky Bruners, Commissioner, City of Stuart.
Troy McDonald, Commissioner, City of Stuart.
And
Harold
Commissioner-
Jenkins, Commissioner, Martin County.
Good morning, I'm Stacy Hetherington, District 2 County Commissioner and Chair of the Board.
Good morning, Ed Campy, Martin County Commissioner.
Sarah Hurd, County Commissioner.
Susan?
Good morning. Susan Gibbs Thomas, Council Member, Village of Indiantown.
Mayor Janet Hernandez, Village of Indiantown.
Good morning, Guyton Stone, Council Member, Village of Indiantown.
Great, thank you all so much. Do we have any public comment? I don't have any. Is anybody here from the public who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. We're going to start with the County and City Capital Improvements Program. We have a presentation.
Okay, good morning. I'm George Zama, Capital Projects Administrator for Martin County. And as we're getting set up, I just wanted to give an introduction. We have Chris Getzfried, a Senior Project Engineer for the Capital Projects Division. He oversees the design team for capital projects, and he will present our capital project update.
Good morning. I'm Chris Getzfried, Capital Projects, Senior Project Engineer. I'm going to run through the projects that the Public Works Department and Capital Projects Division is working on. Our neighborhood restoration construction projects that are in progress or starting soon. Tropical Farms, the drainage improvements have been completed and we're finishing up now on the roadway. Sunset Trail Corridor has been under construction for the last few months and should be completing this month. Heritage Ridge Phase 2 also completing in the next month or two. Hibiscus Park, Old Palm City, Hibiscus Park, Old Palm City, Gomez Corridor, and Harbor Estates are all bid awarded and construction should start shortly. Old Palm City, actually, construction has started and is moving along. Harbor Estates is a project that the Capital Projects Division is coordinating with the Martin County Utilities for sewer force main construction that will happen along with the drainage improvements. Following that, utilities will be coming in with water main. The neighborhood restoration projects that are presently in design, Beau Rivage, another project that Capital Projects is coordinating sewer force main construction with the utility department, which will then again follow with water main construction. Leilani Heights, Hobe Heights, Coral Gardens, Hobe Hills, and Port Salerno are presently in the design phase. Hobe Heights, you're probably all very familiar with, is we're just finishing up a study on a study that'll basically outline our ultimate project objective and design goal. And once that's completed and we finish up with the permitting, design and construction can begin. That's a project that's also FEMA grant funded. Hobe Hills is another project that we're working on to alleviate some drainage issues, and that again is in design. Gomez Corridor is design's completed and construction is imminent. Our road resurfacing and construction projects Savannah Road has been recently completed. There'll be a little bit more work at the Coysendra entrance. That should be starting shortly. The guardrail on County Road 609 will be beginning this month. Actually, they've just recently started construction. Murphy Road resurfacing will be starting shortly. Dixie Highway resurfacing, Jefferson to Indian, starting shortly. And Indian Street will also be starting shortly. Our resurfacing roadway and sidewalk design projects, these are all LAP or SCOP funded projects. They're all either just finishing up design and agency review. Salerno Road, these projects are typically either resurfacing, addition of bike lanes, or sidewalk projects. Salerno Roads, they're both bike lane projects. The St. Lucie Boulevard resurfacing, Indian to Ocean Boulevard, that'll be starting in May. Indian Street resurfacing, 818 to Dixie, starting later on this year. Beach Road resurfacing, starting middle of the year, and 708 Bridge Road resurfacing from Pratt Whitney to US 1. That's pretty much completed through the FDOT program, and that'll be scheduling also for the summer. The Ocean Boulevard sidewalk is a LAP project that is in the city, but we're doing the LAP administration, the design, and that'll be a project that's starting back out in fiscal year 23. Bridge projects, we have the Murphy Road Bridge. Had a couple of hiccups with the contract on that project, but we've gotten through that, and construction should be starting this spring. That's a project that's going to be somewhat disruptive with traffic, but the contractor and the CEI contractor have direction to coordinate and communicate the project status, start times, traffic upsets with the school board and the other stakeholders, residents, of course, so that everybody's aware of when they can expect the most disruptions and can plan accordingly. The Dixie Fork Creek Bridge, that's still in design, and that should be wrapping up here shortly, and we can move forward with construction plans and construction. We have some CRA construction projects that are getting underway. Well, Bridge Road should be finishing up here shortly, thank goodness. Map Road Town Center is under construction. That's moving along well and will be completed late spring. Gomez Affordable Housing is also getting started now. And Old Palm City, the Ripple STA project, has been awarded and should be starting here in February also. We've got a couple of county, city joint projects. The county was the lap administrator on the sidewalk projects, the Dixie Highway and Florida Street sidewalk. That's two areas of sidewalk. One is on Dixie Highway between 6th Street and 5th Street, and the other sidewalk is on Florida Street from Johnson to Dixie Highway. Those are completed and should get the design and lap agreements have been completed, and that should be starting this spring. Northwest Dixie Highway to Northwest Green River Parkway, that's a continuation of the sidewalk that was recently completed on Dixie Highway at basically the intersection of Dixie Highway and Green River Parkway, and it goes up to the roundabout at Green River Parkway and Baker Road. That will be starting fiscal year 2022, probably late 2021. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Clark? Mayor Clark?
On that Gomez Affordable Housing, you're doing the roadway infrastructure and drainage and so on?
Right, we're doing the infrastructure construction, so that would be roadways, drainage, sewer, water.
And the actual development is being done by someone else, or is that all county generated?
The development would be, the construction of homes is by Habitat of Humanity.
Okay, how many units would that be?
Oh, I don't know.
It will be 18 units, and it's modeled much like the Carter Park project in Indiantown, where the county constructs the infrastructure, and Habitat will segmentally construct the homes, about 3 to 4 a year.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Village of Indiantown update. Did I skip the City of Stewart? I'm sorry. We'll come back, if that's okay. I apologize. I was thinking it was one joint presentation. I apologize for that. We'll come back. Thank you, Ms. Roberts.
Yes. Good morning. I'm Althea Jefferson, the Community and Economic Development Director for the Village of Indiantown. And joining me is Bill Archibald, our Public Works Director. Today we'll be talking about some of the private development projects that are coming to Indiantown, those that are currently under construction, and those that are going through the development review process currently. First, we have Casabella, and Casabella is located on Monroe Street, north of Warfield Boulevard. What's proposed here and is currently under construction are 10 units, 5 of which will be live-work. Also, we have a proposal currently under review for Parkview Villas. This particular development application is for minor site plan review. It's located on Southwest Adams Street between Osceola Street and 153rd Street. And it's a 2-story, 36-unit multifamily live-work apartment building. We also have Indiantown Biomedical. Located in our industrial district, they're proposing 20,000 square feet of industrial space to be used for medical research and the production of eye drops. Currently under review, we also have Green Carbon Solutions. And Green Carbon Solutions is part of the Venture Park Plan Unit Development. They are proposing here a facility to create carbon out of wood. And this project is, let me tell you how many square feet. 50,000 square feet, I apologize, for carbon production. We have Tractor Supply, a well-known chain, coming to our village. Currently, their major site plan application is under review. It's proposed to be located on the corner of Warfield Boulevard and County Road 7, Alapata Road and Warfield Boulevard. And they're proposing just over 22,000 square feet of retail commercial space. Also, right now, under development and almost completely done, we just received the last 2 building permit applications for Carter Park, which is consisting of 40 single-family residential units and was approved several years ago. And the final 2 units should be built within the next couple of months. With that, I'll turn it over to Bill. Oh, I'm sorry. And also, we have Sandy Oaks, a well-known subdivision in our village that is nearly built out as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bill Archibald to discuss the public projects.
Thanks, Althea. Good morning. Bill Archibald, Public Works Director for the Village of Indiantown. I'll go over our capital projects. We also added our utility projects in here, but we'll discuss real quickly our capital projects and then items that we're looking at in the future. So first up is our Booker Park Drainage and Roadway Improvement Projects. We received legislative appropriation for this in 2019. The village has budgeted $2.2 million. Design, that's an FDOT administered project. Design has reached a 90% milestone. Final comments are pending. We expect to go to 100% on those drawings within the next month and are looking forward to construction this summer. We also have Seminole Drive roadway and drainage improvements. It's an unfunded future project. We have reached out to the CDBG. We have a grant application pending for CDBG funds to address drainage and roadway resurfacing, actually roadway reconstruction for the southern end of Seminole Drive, which would be from our traffic circle at Osceola Street north to Yalaha Street within the community in the village. The utility, as we spoke of, the Village of Indiantown recently purchased the Indiantown Company water and sewer utility, and we obtained SRF funding to assist us in that effort. We are currently seeking SRF funding to assist with upgrades to the utility. We're hoping for an answer on the drinking water side in the February 11th. Meeting with the SRF and additional funding through the clean water in the August meeting of the SRF. So we're looking to invest heavily in the utility and upgrade both treatment, distribution, and collection services. We also are seeking funding for the design of a drainage neighborhood reconstruction for drainage and roadways for what we call the uptown portion of the Village of Indiantown, which is similar to what we recently did with the Booker Park community. The current estimates are upwards of $4 million, and that project is looking to rehabilitate drainage, create drainage where none exists, and rehabilitate roads that historically go underwater. And so basically what we're looking to do is completely rehabilitate the neighborhood and upgrade both the drainage and roadway infrastructure throughout. We are also currently looking at the extension of water and sewer services east on Citrus Boulevard to the Martin County Fairgrounds to allow potable water service, fire protection, and municipal service to that Citrus Boulevard corridor. We are seeking funding to assist us in that effort right now. It's still in preliminary planning stages. We have reached out to the to the engineers for the fairground and had preliminary discussions to find out if there's any cooperative ventures we can do. We'll be reaching out to Martin County as this becomes real and to discuss potential joint ventures to provide services to the county's fairground. Basically, what we're looking to do is provide a water repump facility out at the east end of town and open up that corridor for water and sewer and to be able to provide fire protection back to Timer Powers Park and the other communities along the corridor. That is basically the extent of where we're at this point. We have several other things that are in early preliminary stages. I apologize I didn't get into those, but we will go much deeper next time around.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the Village of Indiantown? Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, good morning, Althea. Good morning. Can you share with us where you all are with the old DRI that is at the north end of town? I understand that that's moving forward.
Yes, sir, it is. Althea, you're probably in a better position than I am to discuss that right now.
Good morning again. We've had some preliminary discussions with the new owners of the DRI, and based on a discussion earlier this week, they're seeking to come in with one of the first projects for a pre-application meeting later this month and looking to apply for site plan approval in March.
So along with that, and I think this is maybe part of a conversation with the school board as well, which is why I guess we're here. Presumably there will be maybe the need for a school site. Is that being planned? Are you looking at citing that? And if not, where and how does that play with potentially the fairgrounds property? And is there any discussion about joint siting like we talked about probably 10 or 12 years ago?
Well, considering that they haven't officially submitted their pre-application request, I haven't seen what the first project will be, but given the build-out or proposed build-out for the DRI, certainly we'd have to look at the feasibility or possibility of construction of new educational facilities. And we also have one of the school board staff on our LPA for any project such as this one that would include a proposal for residential units. So they will certainly be part of our discussion.
So, and just because I'm thinking sort of in old DRI thought process, in the old days when there were such a thing called DRIs, there would be requirements for them to identify those public pieces of infrastructure long before you got to like a first phase or a second phase, so that everybody kind of knew and understood what was coming, and that was maybe the purpose of a DRI. So I'm just kind of curious if you've all been having that conversation, and if there is to be a first approval, does that first approval come along with a master plan, site plan of some sort that says, yeah, here is the amount of acreage set aside in this location for a school site? And if that's not happening, just certainly from one of us, I would certainly encourage you to be doing that. Because once they start rolling, it'll be hard to roll back where they go.
Certainly. What we'll be doing is pulling the records from the DRI approval, and those are discussions that we would have with them. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Smith, in the original DRI, there was a school site, but it was never fully approved by the school board. At that time, there was inside the DRI a school site.
I recall.
However, things have changed quite a bit in our capacity at our schools in Indiantown. Of course, we still have fifth grade at Indiantown Middle School, but we do have capacity at Indiantown Middle School, unlike Warfield, which is at capacity. So I've already begun some discussions with the superintendent about what we can do with our current facilities that aren't being utilized fully. But high schools are another issue that we're going to have to deal with in the future, not just with the old DRI or the old DRI property, but also Pineland Prairie.
Well, and that again feeds back into the conversation you and I had about a month ago relative to Newfield Pineland Prairie. So, and again, I assume this is the forum to have a broad conversation, because there's a lot of moving parts with this, and even though it's Indiantown's DRI, I appreciate that. It will certainly involve the capacity of the school system, and it will probably also have something to do relative to Newfield or Pineland Prairie in terms of the capacity that they're going to be providing. So maybe today is not the right day, but I would suggest at our next meeting that we have a sort of a very broad discussion on how all those pieces fit. Because at the end of the day, if Newfield is to build a 1,000-seat high school or 800-seat high school, Indiantown's probably still going to need something, and I'm certainly in favor of smaller high schools versus larger high schools. And just, I think there's a place for that conversation to be had as a county-wide discussion. So if that's okay with you and Indiantown, I would hope that we could get that on the agenda for next joint meeting.
Thank you for that. I was going to suggest as well that we have the agent representative here with us at the next meeting to give a full presentation.
Great,
Well,
thank
we
you so
should
much.
really start having those conversations among the school board and the Village of Indiantown first, talking about siting, but because obviously we have to take the whole county into account. Ms. Roberts?
So I was going to ask, I mean, I agree with you, Mrs. Chair Powers, that it would be a discussion that would start with the school board and the Village of Indiantown, but quite obviously the county and perhaps even the city have opinions and want to weigh in about school sightings in Indiantown. So is that something that...
It's not so much our opinion or on school sightings in Indiantown. If Newfield is to build a new high school, and that is presumed to take up capacity of Indiantown, then that may change the entire discussion in Indiantown. What Indiantown wants to do relative to that's their business, and certainly not ours, but Newfield is ours. And so the outcome of what will occur with Newfield may or may not impact what Indiantown may or may not do. And that's, I think, the conversation we should have, so that we are all at least understanding what's coming. Because those facilities, as you well understand, or better than any of us understand, are significantly expensive. And how we do it and how they get divided up, I think, relative to where kids are going to be moved around from, will definitely impact both you all and certainly us and Indiantown.
Well, and I will say I've shared some ideas specifically about Indiantown with our superintendent. We as a board haven't discussed it yet. We also haven't discussed Newfield having a high school yet, so that none of that has been, as a board, we haven't really even had a proposal like that yet. So we welcome that. Obviously, it's going to be Newfield's at one end and Indiantown's at the other end, and somehow we've got to come up with a place for all the kids to go without creating strain on all of our other schools. So we are, I think, looking at those together as we plan for new schools.
So Commissioner Smith, do you have information that Newfield is looking at a high school on their property?
They have 3 sites in their project that are slated for schools, and may or may not produce a high school, depending upon what their capacity and their numbers are. But that's, I think, part of this whole conversation. I mean, it's almost kind of like we're like, I'm feeling like we're living a little bit in a vacuum right now, as if we don't really know what Newfield is doing, and the county commission has approved Newfield, and they are moving. And so there will be something that Newfield will be doing, and I think it would, personally, I would hope that we would all want to be on the same page versus you all waking up one day and going, oh, really, they're building a school?
Well, and that's why I was asking if you had information about a high school coming to Newfield. I was interested in hearing about that.
We have had a broad discussion on all, and you all have too, because the school siting discussion for Newfield has been on the table for the past 2 years at least, relative to their approvals. And so I don't want to speak on behalf of Newfield, and I wish they were here to speak on their behalf, but that has been both the cost and how those funds are allocated from the project itself to the school, whether it's charter, whether it's county. All of those things, I think we should certainly be discussing, because that will impact perhaps what Indiantown does. And again, it's not my position tell Indiantown what to do, but you should all know that Newfield's doing a project that is going to have a significant change, I think, to the education component of it. That's all.
Well, Commissioner Smith, I can assure you, you know my passion for Indiantown, and I will always look out for Indiantown and make sure that they're treated just as fairly as Newfield is in any development that happens. I can assure you of that. So wherever it lands, in the middle somewhere, maybe, I don't know. I have some ideas, and I've started to share those with the superintendent, and so as we talk about school siting for the future, including Newfield, we are having conversations with them as well, continuing. I mean, I think in their development site plan, they have 3 sites, but the reality is that we're not in a position to build 3 brand-new public schools at a cost of a high school of $100 million for every developer that comes to Martin County. So we have to take it all into consideration, and not that we're definitely not saying that we're building a new high school at Newfield, so let's,
And again,
we don't
Marsha,
know what that's going to look like.
I appreciate all that, and all the more reason, I think, for this meeting, the purpose, I think, of this meeting is for all of the local governments to get together and talk about things that are going to impact each other, and that's why I'm bringing up the conversation, because...
And I think we'll be able to report back something to our collective group at our next meeting, because we are beginning those conversations with, I know the developers agreement with Newfield is back on the table, and that kind of sat...
Oh, it's passed back on the table. It's approved.
Well, no, I'm talking about with us, with
Okay.
the schools, to look at what we're going to do and our agreement with them into the future with their 20-year build-out. So we are back having that discussion. It kind of sat idle through the holidays, but we're meeting with them again, and the board will be talking about that at our meetings, and then I think we'll be in a position to report back in next meeting. And probably before you'll hear from individual school board members.
Thank you all very much.
Keep you informed. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you. Appreciate this coming up, and I was just speaking with somebody yesterday about this. And everything is still so preliminary, and yes, it is on the horizon, and it is in our vision. But also, talking about impacting over in Stewart and Highland Prairie or whatever the new thing is. I would encourage, and I'm sure we can talk about this further, maybe a new model, a K through 12 out there that may not.
Or a K-8.
K-8, there you go. So yeah, moving forward, we have all options open to us, so thank you.
Yeah, the superintendent and I have talked about that in being innovative, maybe looking at different models than we have done in the past. For smaller communities in particular that deserve those facilities as well, and not have 5th grade at the middle school is just one of my goals, to get that right, because it would never be acceptable anywhere else in Martin County except Indiantown. And for the record, I went to 5th grade at Indiantown Middle School, so that's how long it's been.
Not that long.
That long, really? I know, right?
Yesterday, Marcia.
And then they added power.
Okay, thank you. If there are any other questions for the village? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, guys. We look forward to having those conversations with you all.
Sam.
Yes, we're going back to the city of Stewart. You guys get extra time because I skipped over you. I'm sorry.
Good morning. Martin County Board, County Commissioners, City of Stewart Commissioners, Martin School Board, and the Village of Indiantown. For the record, I'm Tim Volker, City of Stewart Utilities and Engineering Director, going to present some completed projects and some upcoming projects within the city limits. This past month, the City of Stewart completed our resurfacing project in Zone 3. Currently, the city breaks up the city into 5 different zones. Each year we attack one zone with resurfacing. And Zone 3 contains the heart of East Stewart. So we resurfaced MLK Jr. Boulevard. We do 3 types of surface treatment: an asphalt rejuvenator, mill and overlay, and microsurfacing. The slide here shows kind of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard before. You can kind of see the cracking in there, and then the after. This particular segment of MLK is between Colorado and Dixie Highway. Some upcoming transportation projects, as Chris mentioned in Martin County's presentation, the city and county have a sidewalk project. The city utilizes the county's lab certification, and we administer then the construction and design of the project, and that's for the Dixie Highway and Southeast Florida Street sidewalk project. Currently, a lot of residents from East Stewart walk Florida Street, but there is just really a 2-foot wide shoulder. So to make it safer for the East Stewart residents to walk to like Johnson, Kindred, downtown, we're putting in this sidewalk. And we're hoping to have the pre-construction meeting start this month in February. An upcoming project also is the Shepherd Park Boat Trailer Parking Project. The city only has 1 boat ramp in its city limits, and it's at Shepherd Park. And right now, the boat trailer parking is at 90 degrees, which is very awkward when you're trying to maneuver a truck and trailer and boat. So we took this opportunity to apply for a fine grant and kind of reconfigure the parking. So that was kind of our primary focus. And as we got into the layout, we thought it would also be a very good opportunity, since the close proximity of this project to the waterway, to incorporate some sustainable construction within the project. So all the travel lanes within the reconfigured boat ramp they're going to be pervious concrete. All the parking areas are going to be a turf block. And then also the landscaping you see on this slide is going to be a rain garden to help capture that stormwater infiltrated into the ground versus having it just sheet flow right now down the ramp into the waterway. So we're really excited for that and hoping construction starts in April, and bids will be receiving next week on that project. The Martin County or Monterey Road Subdivision Water Main Improvements Project was a collaborative project between 3 agencies. It was between the city, the county, and the state, which I guess stereotypically, when you get 3 agencies working together, people envision project taking long, nothing gets done. We went under design for this project October 2019, and in December 2020, we were able to get it certified and complete construction, which is very important because this particular subdivision, which is outside the city limits, but within the City of Stewart utility service area, is on private wells, and those wells are contaminated with PFC compounds, and it was important for all of us to work together to get this project constructed so that these residents can have a potable, clean, safe, potable drinking water. And to date, out of the 176 residents, 55 meters have been installed, and every day we're installing more meters, and people are coming into our customer service to sign up for water service, which is excellent. And then, as I mentioned, that Monterey project, the PFC compounds have been an issue for the city. And due to that, emergent contaminants, saltwater intrusion, the city a couple years ago decided to look for an alternative water supply. And, we have been proactively planning this project, and it's going to allow us the operational flexibility to, if wells do go down in the superficial, that we can utilize this alternative water supply. You guys are probably going to, I'm going to give you a little heads up. I'll probably be talking about this project at future meetings for the next couple years because it's such a large project. That, you know, there's several big components. It's going to take 2 to 3 years. And this past December, the first major component, which is the water supply well, was actually completed. Here's a picture on the slide showing it. It goes 1,600 feet down into the ground, so that's where the city's future water supply will be coming from. And we anticipate construction on the actual facility to start next fiscal year, with the completion, like I mentioned, 2 years from now. And lastly, with all the rain that happened in May and June of this past year, the city budgeted to update its stormwater management plan. So starting October 1st, 2020, we started working on that project. We've completed the preliminary tasks of gathering all the data, you know, kind of looking over the, you know, where it flooded this summer, where it's flooded past. Here's several pictures showing those areas. Just yesterday, we sat down with Martin County, South Florida Water Management District, FDOT, and Martin County School Board all had a collaborative meeting to talk about flooding-prone areas within the city. It's a very productive meeting, and we'll look to incorporate everyone's comments into the report. We're hoping to have the report completed by April 2021, and then presenting our findings to the City Commission shortly thereafter. I guess, does anyone have any questions?
Commissioner Heatherington?
I just have a comment on the Monterey Road subdivision project. And I know that I've mentioned this before, but I think it bears repeating that it was a great collaborative effort between the city of Stuart and the county. And when we first found out that we had some contaminated wells out there, we worked with DEP and got the project almost 100% funding, if not 100% funding. And City of Stuart was right there to do the design work, and the project moved very swiftly. So the DEP representative commented that she had wished that other municipalities would work so well together. Apparently that's not the common in the state. So I just want to thank City of Stuart again. It was a very great collaborative effort, I think.
Yeah, and we were able to get the funding 100% paid for with how construction came in under, you know, what we originally budgeted. So, you know, ultimately it'll be a zero cost to the county and the city, which is great.
It's great.
And the city wants to thank Commissioner Heatherington for spearheading those efforts with the state. It was very important for her involvement in that.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacey.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, growth and development trends. This love lady.
Good morning, Samantha Lovelady with Martin County Growth Management. The interlocal agreement requires that we report on population projections, summary of development activity, and large-scale development projects under review. In Martin County, there have been 1,891 new residential units that have been approved from January 1st through December 31st of 2020. And here's a map of the approved projects. Comprehensive plan amendments, there was a total maximum of 512 unit increase. Building permits for the year were 405 units. And you can see the 10-year history here. And here's a map of the certificates of occupancy for 2020. 358 COs were issued. Excuse me. Total county population for 2020 was 161,301 for the estimate, and the projection for 2045, excuse me, is 193,040. We had a total of 49 non-residential permits issued. See, there were 2 office and professional buildings, 17 retail services, and 30 other non-residential, which would include industrial and otherwise. And here is a map of the non-residential COs issued. Assisted living facilities. There's existing 1,145 beds, and there are 1,167 beds that are yet to be constructed. And the last approval was in 2019, which added 10 beds. And with that, I'll hand it over to Kev for the City of Stewart, unless anyone has any questions.
I'm sorry, the last frame said something about Indian Town.
Well, I would normally put their presentation in with here, but we didn't, we had a miscommunication. So Indian Town already did theirs. So I didn't have anything to report on them.
Morning, Chair. Good morning, commissions and boards. Kevin Freeman, City of Stewart Development Director. A brief update on the development happenings in the city. What we've looked at here is a pipeline of residential developments and commercial developments over the last 5 years. So we've gone back to 2017. We look at what's in construction, what's been approved, what's been built, and what's in building permit. So, as you can see, a number of developments from that period of time were approved by the city, both north and south. The key that you see, it's color-coded. The green highlighted are in construction. The amber or orange highlight are approved but not yet in permitting or construction. The grey are in review. White is completed, and the dark blue is actually in permitting. So you can see we've got a spread both north and south. Hotspots at the moment are Avonlea and developments to the the outer limits, if you like, of the city, and also Central Parkway. That's a breakdown of the projects as they came in and were submitted. You can see there's a split of the ones in construction. So we have some approved projects that came through in 2018 that are yet to go into any permitting or construction. The majority of units came forward in 2020. And that was a total of 949 units. This year, in 2021, we have on the books approximately 633 units, including the largest development that's between Canna and Willoughby, a Canna PUD, which incorporates a Costco facility, and that incorporates about 200,000 square feet of retail restaurant floor space. And one thing that we do in the city is look at what is the impact on the local economy. And that local economy, when I talk about that, is an economy of the Port St. Lucie MSA. And so one thing that's overlooked when we talk about residential development is the impact that that brings with it, both from construction and subsequent residential occupancy. So we use the National Builders Association multipliers, which I've accepted nationwide, and we've applied them to the size of the projects and the local values of jobs or disposable income that's likely to come out of residents. And so you can see that from the projects that we have on the books, and that's from 2017 right the way through 2021, there's a potential benefit to local businesses just from the construction of almost 100 million. There's a annual business income that's from residents actually using their disposable income in the local area of over 14 million per annum. And that, obviously, that's the extreme of when and if these are all occupied, and we have people working, living, and shopping in the county and the city. Local jobs supported, and I think this is a very important factor as we come out of what we've been going through this last year, and the way that the commercial and office markets are likely to move forward, and the way that people's habits have been directed to more online delivery shopping, is to have, and what we're aiming for here in the City of Stuart, is to have a bulk of new residents supporting local businesses and the jobs that are provided by those local businesses. And these aren't new jobs. These are jobs, not necessarily new, these are jobs that are supported by the expenditures that will be made by both construction and occupation of these residential units. And so, again, as these projects move through, we can see support of over 5,000 local jobs as these get built and subsequently occupied. We've also looked at the commercial development in 2020 and the pipeline moving forward. Again, the majority of the development, as you would expect, has been located on US 1, both north and south. Primarily, we see the market reacting to demand for storage space, hotels, and primarily that was about it. Not much industrial going on. We are seeing some interest now in more industrial, which is a hopeful sign. We're anticipating that demand for commercial and office space, if not maintained as it is, will actually decline in the city. And so we're looking at potential alternatives to the use of commercial floor space as we move forward into the future. So that's what I have for you today. If you've got any questions, I'll be happy to attempt to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much. Next up, we have the school district enrollment count and population projections.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kimberly Everman, Capital Planner for the Martin County School District, and I'm here to discuss our enrollment report for 2020. This morning, we're going to talk about the enrollment context, the fall enrollment by grade comparison, the fall enrollment by school, and just looking at the district-wide enrollment overall. So for this count, we do it in October every year, and this is our COFTA count, which is our students within the buildings. And who's included is our students within the buildings as well as the ESC pre-K. Who's not included in this count are programs, adult programs, charter schools, homeschools. As you can see, there's about 11 items that are not included in this count because they're not physically in the facility. We did this on October 9th of 2020, and it was done October 9th, October of the previous year. Looking at the overall grade levels, elementary, middle, and high school, and looking from the fall from 2019 to fall 2020, we can see that there was obviously a difference. The pandemic definitely had a lot to do with that. We had a decrease at the elementary at the highest, and the least at the high school, for an overall decrease of 6.61% for our district. And of course, that, as we know, is not the norm, but the conditions were at hand. Below, you can see our alternative schools and their increases and decreases as well. Looking at the elementary schools a little bit closer, you can see our 12 traditional schools and the 2019-2020 difference. There was a decrease in all the elementaries. The standout at Citrus Grove was the highest at 129 students, and the least decrease was at J.D. Parker with only a 27, about a class and a half reduction, so not a lot of decrease there. Our elementary school was at a minus 9.72% for the enrollment. At our 5 middle schools, 2019 to 2020, we were also down. Hidden Oaks was the one with the highest decrease at 113 students, and Indiantown only had a difference of 2 students, so a very, very slight decrease there, for an overall decrease of 8.30% at the middle school. For our 3 traditional high schools, we have Jensen Beach, Martin County, South Fork, of course. Jensen Beach lost about 2 classrooms at 54, just 5 students at Martin County, so very, very slight decrease at our high schools. And South Fork actually had a 3-student increase, even though the conditions of the pandemic. So our high schools were the least amount of a decrease with 1.01%. And that is all I had this morning. Are there questions?
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you very much. Good morning. Appreciate that. This was done in October, but I know you don't have official numbers, but for the spring semester, did you see some of those decreases start for the families start to send the students back to the actual school sites, or are you seeing it consistently that these kids are staying away?
Well, let me be clear. The students that are remote learners are included in that count because at any given time they could go back to the site. The virtual school that was on that slide was more like the Mosaic programs or specific virtual program. So the remote learners are included in the COFTA count. And yes, we have seen a bunch of students go from remote to traditional learning, so they had that option, and many students did opt for that.
So just to be clear, you're saying that these decreases that we saw in here, they're not including the kids that are taking their classes virtually at home? Those kids are still included in these
They are
numbers?
included, yes.
So those are just decreases of kids that are not in school or studying online at home?
That's correct.
Wow, that changes quite a bit. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes, good morning. I had a similar type of question, but I'm phrasing mine as when the students come out of school, when the parents remove them from school or withdraw them from school, do you keep a record to say if they've gone to a charter school or if they're been in an official homeschool program, so that you know, like say Palm City, that 113 or 115, that you know where these kids have gone when they have withdrawn from school, when you've lost that number? Do you have a record?
Yes, I can answer that.
Certainly.
We do code if they move out of state, if they transfer to another school, if they homeschool, Florida virtual school, those are all, we know where they're going if they withdraw properly from our schools.
Now, is it a part of the school board rules or the Florida statutes, since the children in our county are technically under your jurisdiction, that you know how many students are like in homeschool programs or in charter school programs? Do you keep track of those?
We do.
Can you report that next time, please?
Sure.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Ms. Roberts?
And just in case you didn't know, that on the district website, there are public dashboards that report our enrollment every day, so you can see that growth. So there is one that tells you traditional and remote. So even though these numbers were from October, I was trying to pull it up on my phone, but my eyes aren't big enough to see it. But you can actually see, if you go to the one that says remote and traditional and add those two numbers together, you will see what that number is that corresponds to this number that you're looking at here. And to answer Commissioner Clark's question, you can also see on a total enrollment number, you can see by the different schools, which does include the charter piece in there. So you would have all the children with that.
And we're going to get a presentation on our dashboard, which is up.
Yeah.
Ms.
Coming up.
Powers, just to follow up.
Oh.
I appreciate that, and I will go look at that. My kids grew up, so I'm not on the day-to-day operation of the schools. But having sat through many of these presentations, we were always sort of pecking in the up direction, the positive direction. And I remember the days when you guys were scrambling around with portables and how you were going to fit kids and what you were going to do. I was just surprised. During the presentation, I assumed these were the numbers of kids that were staying home. I mean, there is really only one basic charter school option for younger children, the TCCA. Are you seeing a correlation where the kids are leaving our more traditional public schools and specifically going there? Because I can at least comprehend that. Or are they, because they're not, we don't have a huge residential vacancy, so it's not like people are moving away. So is it just specifically that as the new strategy, the new situation, or is there something else at hand?
The charter school has definitely drawn kids out of a traditional public school. Yes, that is true. And they will continue to do that if charter schools become, if more come. So that is a concern. We have, even prior to the pandemic, we had been seeing slight decreases in our enrollment, not as drastic as we have seen this year. And it's really a statewide issue. In some of the bigger counties, there's thousands and thousands of kids that are not coming anymore. And some school districts are really making, and we are too, making an effort to track down and make sure that kids that should be in school are in school. And making that contact, if they're still living in Martin County, finding out where they are and why they're not attending, or maybe they are attending just in a different homeschool option, Florida virtual school. We don't have our own virtual, other than our synchronous learning, we don't have our own virtual school, so some kids, parents chose to transfer their kids to the virtual school that's done by St. Lucie County. So we did have some of that.
Question then, it looks like when I looked at the chart, Citrus Grove and potentially Hidden Oaks Middle School, obviously Palm City or District 5 schools. Sometimes if there is a sort of a wave of students leaving, that can almost be just like a family thing where the parents start to like motivate each other to depart. I think, the challenge for you all is that if you lose 129 students, 18, almost 19% at a school, that disrupts the whole process of how many teachers do you have. And I know Dr. Featherstone is going to speak to that. I'm just wondering if there's something we can collectively be doing to, I would, as a parent of 3 students that went through those Palm City elementary schools, they are some of the best schools in the state. So it is sort of surprising to me, unless there was some kind of an anomaly where a group of parents got together and said, look, we're all leaving. Because if you look at the Palm City Elementary number there, it's only like 30. I'm wondering if there's a strategy in place to almost, not that you're going, parents can make their own decisions, but almost to re-educate the families on the value that these particular schools offer. I mean, these are some of the best schools around, and to see 129 students depart, it really surprises me. And if there's a way we can collaborate and educate and inform the Palm City residents that they're giving up a remarkable education, I would be all in and helping.
Thank you.
And before Ginger says, Dr. Featherstone says something, I mean, I think we even have anecdotal information available right here that we do have parents of younger children who have chosen Florida virtual as an option because it fits better with their schedule, et cetera. So you would see those coming out of these numbers. You also see across the state a large number of parents who would be first-time kindergarten parents who've chosen to sit back and kind of like, I'm going to wait and see what happens, that type of thing. So you've seen some of that that's that's happening at the same time. But
We've seen a real drop in enrollment.
But if they never went
specifically in
there, they
kindergarten.
wouldn't be a decrease though, correct? If a kindergartner never.
no, they would
Yes.
be,
Because
because
they
what
count
you
as
do
a-
is.
as a resident of the
because they're-
county?
Because what you would see is, you would see, here's the population, so here's you have your K through 5 school, right? Your 5th grade class leaves, your 4th grade class moves up, and you have your new kindergarten class. So imagine if you had 100 kids in each of those classes, you would lose 100 5th graders, but the 4th graders
Got
would
it.
move up, and you'd add the next little group that would be coming in. So that would be your normal progression. As far as Treasure Coast Classical goes, they're in a period right now where every year they're adding another grade. So even though students are going to Treasure Coast Classical, what they're really, the piece that you would really logically think is, as you add another grade, that grade jump of adding another section onto it, whatever that capacity is, if it's 72 or what the number is, that you would be seeing that being pulled from somewhere, not necessarily 100% from your traditional public schools, but that would be coming out of the equation.
Right, and I get that the TCCA is a viable educational option, but to see these, and it's been around for a little bit, but to see these numbers, I would have assumed these were pandemic numbers. This has really nothing to do with the pandemic.
It
Some
does.
do, some do.
Yes, some.
Allow me to speak to this. Good morning, Ginger Featherstone, Deputy Superintendent. With the pandemic, what happens as well, some parents, due to the ability to work from home, are now capable of having their children at home with them to do virtual programs. We do track students who are in Florida Virtual. We track students who are enrolled in the home education program. I do have all of those numbers that I could provide for you. I did not have them with me today, but please do not hesitate to reach out. But those are still abilities as well as private school. And TCCA actually had a large increase in their population this school year. There are the abilities to have different opportunities, and we encourage our families to find the opportunity where the education is best for their child. And we celebrate that we have the enrollments that we do have. We had an expectation of a decrease in enrollment due to birth rates. We're seeing a little bit of that as well as you roll through when you have a low rate. Kindergarten was hit at Citrus Grove. Citrus Grove was hit by the enrollment at TCCA. And that will continue as they add a new kindergarten class and they roll up a new class into grade 8. We are looking as well at Hope Center for Autism and their academy at adding 7th and 8th grade to meet their needs. That is another one of our charters as well. Our current enrollment at Clark is still sitting at 250. That is their capacity, and that is the amount that they stay at. That, again, is another charter that we have in our district as well. So these numbers are all calculated. We manage all of them, and I'm happy to share if you'd like. Just let me know. I'm welcome your conversation.
So I was going to go to Commissioner Matheson. One thing that I do want to say that, just really quickly, Commissioner Campy, it does impact our allocations. So as those enrollment numbers drop, it does impact allocation of teachers and based on where those populations are going. So you asked that question. Commissioner Matheson?
So perhaps for Commissioner Campy and myself, we could clarify, some of the lingo outside of the district is spread around by different residents. Just clarify what's in the numbers. For example, Commissioner Campy, my daughter goes to virtual school, but she goes to Florida virtual school, whereas a lot of the same lingo, I might talk to someone else who attends the district virtual school.
Remote learning.
They would be, yes, but that lingo gets thrown around. So yes, the remote learning numbers, where you're still enrolled in the district, are in these numbers that we're seeing here today.
Correct.
That is correct.
Homeschool, other charter schools, or Florida virtual school, which could be a result of the pandemic, are not in these numbers.
Correct.
Correct.
So I would argue that the pandemic certainly has an influence on these numbers, and as we come out of the pandemic, we'll see a bit of a adjustment back. Does that perhaps help in any way? I mean, the lingo outside of, I guess, most of us in this room is different from a parent might just say, oh, my daughter's in virtual school.
It is very confusing, and it's.
I agree.
It can
The
be.
remote learning
Yeah.
component, when the pandemic, and I say when, not if, but when the pandemic is over and kids come back to school, these decreases on the remote learners, they'll come back to school. But the students and the families.
Remember, the remote learners are already in these numbers.
No, I understand, but they'll come back physically to the building.
Sure.
Which is my hope, I lean on that side, that the students being together, even at the college level for my students, for my kids, it's much more difficult for, certain classes are easy to do virtually or remote, but some of these other classes, labs and things like that, never mind the emotional impact, the societal impact of students not being, and we could spend the rest of the day talking about that. My concern is that if families are choosing for their students to go somewhere else, even when the pandemic is over, they're probably going to stay where they are. Some of the parents that are home currently working from home and their kids are virtual schooling, which is not in your number, they might eventually go back to work or send the kids back to our more traditional schools, and you'll get those numbers back. But the real estate market is super hot. The neighborhood that I live in is in that 15-year transition where we all came with little kids and then they all grew up, and now there's a lot more baby strollers and little bicycles in the neighborhood. So I would not have assumed, just as an observer, an outside observer, that your numbers would have been down. And the TCCA has been around for a couple of years, so I wouldn't have seen, those dramatic decreases. I'm sure you guys are thinking about this. I'm just surprised, and I get it's not really in my wheelhouse, it's yours. But just as a supporter of our public school system that I think is second to none, I'm just surprised to see so many people that would have left, and I'm wondering, will you get them back? Because when my kids went to Palm City Elementary School, I think the enrollment was 925 students at the time. There was no citrus. And people were still glad to jam their kids into the classroom because the education was top-notch. And so I get that there are some more viable options, but I'm just wondering, how do we collectively promote the value of the Martin County Public School System? Because it's a remarkable institution.
And this all goes into our conversations with developers as we plan for new schools as well, in the uncertainty. So those are all things that we'll be talking more and more about as a board. Ms. Steffenthaler?
Yes. Commissioner Campy, I want to thank you for bringing that up, because I think the important thing is that we need to do a better job of promoting our schools in terms of academic rigor and the excellent programs that we provide. I think that collaborating with the county and the city in terms of doing that would be a great benefit to us. I think we're trying to do the promotion. I've talked to the superintendent about this, but the value of the Martin County School District is, just like you said, I mean, it's top notch. But we need to get the word out. We have our website, however, the people that go to the website are generally the people that are in the school system. So somewhere we need to figure out how we can advertise, how we can promote, and how we can let community and around the state, because they research where they want to live. People research that. When I was principal at Bessie Creek, that's what they would say. I researched, and this is a school that I decided to have my children come to, or it was Palm City Elementary, it was J.D. Park, whatever. Parents want to support education. They want their children to have an excellent education, and I believe the Martin County School District provides that. And so your offer of help with that is wonderful. If we can collaborate and how we can do that, I think that would be a benefit to what we're doing in the Martin County School District. So thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife, I lived in New York, and when we were deciding to move here, the only reason my wife was willing to move to Florida at all was to come to the Martin County schools. We picked our school first, and then found a house within that Palm City Elementary School area. And I know there's plenty of great schools all over the county, but the other group, our real estate industry sells our homes based on the Martin County school system. Nothing else, because, look, we have a lot of great amenities, but so do many other counties. But I think the reason we have what we have here is based on the school district. So maybe even a collaboration with the realtors. Because look, we're tuned in parents here. I'm obviously tuned in to what's happening in the county, and I had no idea that this was happening for you all. So yeah, a little, like a wake-up call or a call to action would be helpful, because these kids, not that there are not some good opportunities, they're missing out on a free, top-rate education that sends these kids off to the best colleges in the country. I think we've made our
Thank you.
point.
Just to be clear, this is a statewide issue. This is not just a Martin County issue. This is happening in A-rated school districts across the state because of a lot of it to do with the pandemic. And, but hopefully we'll have some better updated numbers as we move out of this. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, just to follow up on this joint idea, you know, for as long as I've been doing this, we have always discussed as an economic element of Martin County that the school system is the single best economic tool we could ever ask for. And so from the idea of how do we market this thing and what you all do, it should be absolutely inherent to our economic development strategy because, as Ed said, the first thing people do is they look who's got the best schools and then they make their decisions. And if Ed ever wants to send his kids over to Jensen, that's fine, because I know ours are just a little bit better. But we are, it's absolutely something we should jointly figure out how to market because it is something incredible that you all have created. So thank you all.
Thank you. We appreciate all the support. And I know our superintendent will reach out to Ms. Krista and we'll come up with some collaborative ideas and things that we can do. So thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none? Okay, so we're going to do now a progress update. This is something that is near and dear to my heart, the school board and the county commission interlocal agreement. I want to first say thank you to Ms. Krista and Dr. Millay for, we're finally seeing progress on this, and this really gets me excited. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Millay.
Well, first, good morning, everyone that's here in the room. Many of you have already met with as I've entered Martin County. I look forward, if I haven't met with you, I'm happy to do so. My door's open. I also extend greetings to the good families and people of Martin County that might be touring in. I also want to share, I bring greetings typically on behalf of our boards, but since they're here, I'll bring that on behalf of our students and our staff and our administrators and those families that we serve. So thank you. Our decisions impact them, and I want to make sure we always remember that the school district is integral to the success of this entire community. Also, I'm happy to see this microphone because sometimes when I'm at schools, I speak a little quietly, but I do that as strategy. Any good teacher knows it brings calmness, and when you speak a little quieter, kids and people tend to listen. So I'm big on that. So I am trying to be more visible and listen to you in the community. So again, I send outreach. If you'd like to meet with me, I'll make myself available to you. Also want to share that I'm very, very interested and committed to building the Martin County School District brand. I'm so happy to be here, and often I get asked, you know, do you like it here? Other than being tall, the question is, do you like it here? Like they ask the question. And I can say, no, I absolutely love it here. I love Martin County so much that I'm buying a home this week, and I joke, I say, if they fire me tomorrow, I'm still going to live here because I really love this place. So I want to thank the school board for how they've helped welcome me. And again, before I start this presentation, I want to recognize Taryn Krista, our county administrator, because she has been working with me so positively on this ILA, and I know it's very important to our board chair and the members of the Martin County Board of Education, and we are moving forward. We've established, she and I, a very positive relationship, and I think we can nail this. Actually, I know we can nail this. So there's still a few more hurdles, just like the path on the roads out there. Sometimes they have a bump here and there, but we're going to keep on moving forward. So she's been great to work with, and I know our boards and the commission want success. So I want to say also that I've read in the newspapers, they say we've dealt with this for over a decade. So give us just another month or so. It's coming along. I think we make good strides. So look forward to that, and I think we'll have a good positive result. So I'm going to begin walking us through this overview. I will be brief, and if needed, Garrett Grabowski, he's our COO. He'll join me for some different additional information as we move through, and questions at the end. So what this does, the purpose, it provides a collaborative framework for the interlocal agreement between the county and the school district for mutual use of facilities by the general public. That digest a minute. So it's the core. We're looking at a core agreement here. The district and county staff are working together to present a new interlocal agreement for joint use of facilities. And currently, there are multiple interlocal agreements in place executed at various times regarding various properties dating back to the 1980s. So there have been many, and some are very well articulated, some are old. There's been a lot of transition, some want to begin. So there are many that we're looking at pieces. This is about putting together a whole, if you can imagine that. Imagine a whole, a new agreement, and all the different parts being memorandums of understanding with each site to update the usage. There may be portions that the county wants to do more of. There could be pieces they want less of. I mean, we've seen the growth and things that are happening, some changes. So as we get our master agreement, each site will get the respect it needs individually to update it and make sure we're all very clear moving forward, because some of these do date back to 1980s. And I want to share, as we move through that process, this moves forward, each of those sites will get the time and the attention to make sure it's updated as to make it modern and that they're listened to and that we value them. The master interlocal agreement outlines the arrangement between the county and the school board, which with details for the specific sites, as I outlined, governed by the memorandum of understanding for each site. They will all look, there'll be a general framework for each site, but they'll all look a little different. They'll be a bit customized because Martin County is very different, as you well know, in different parts of the county and the cities. The proposed framework, it has the flexibility to add or remove MOUs for individual sites, avoiding the need to change the entire agreement. So we don't have several master agreements. We have one. And if we get hit a bump or the need changes for one site, we don't have a group saying it's all messed up, it's all different. We will address that one site, make it what it needs to be, and we don't disturb the whole process. So we'll avoid the need to change the entire agreement. It's the ability to modify the provisions of the MOU during the term of the agreement. Delegates responsibility to the executive teams to finalize the terms for the site MOUs. Ms. Krista and I have talked about this as it moves forward. We both agreed that we will keep our hands a little closer at the start, because how things start determines how good they'll be later. So we'll keep a little closer watchful hand and eye at first. We want our staff, of course, to be empowered. They do great things. They're going to do all this, but we want to make sure they start up properly and that they stand the test of time. The MOUs delineate responsibility and will include, but not limited to, maintenance, staffing, hours of use, etc. There might be some facilities. There are several MOUs right now or interlocal agreements that work really well. That may not take a big change. It'll just update the form, so to say. So some areas may involve where the county, there may be a site where they agree and they need to staff or clean or participate. They want to serve our students and community there. But each one will look different. So not every one of them will have a cost. They're all individualized. The current Martin County School Board use of facilities versus the proposed ILA. For the current use of facilities, there's two things that will simultaneously happen. It's the process to reserve the use of school district facilities through School Dude. That exists now and will continue. Now, COVID has cramped everyone's style a bit, but our school board just the other day when we met, they're committed to, they would like our facilities used, but they're also being prudent, they're being careful and responsible to the staff and the students of Martin County. So there will be areas that we're even looking at booking for the summer. Now, whether we can follow through with that will determine in the coming months what COVID does. But the current process and for long term, they will continue to be able to look at sites currently through School Dude. And as proposed, the ILA does not alter that process for like a one-time usage, those types of things. The proposed ILA MOU is the expansion in the number of school district facilities that are available for use. The expansion it's not intended that everything will just be all opened at once. It's predictable, it's on need, it's as the community may desire, and we can work out a good plan for usage that we're all happy with. There may be potential cost sharing to expand offerings to the public. So depending on if there's a group or the county would like to use a site in a more expanded, regular way, that, of course, if there's maintenance issues, energy issues, we'll collaborate on that. And increased opportunities for the school district use of county facilities. So this kind of could work both ways. It typically works more with the school facilities, these types, but it does kind of, could work both ways. At this point, I guess we'll have a few questions. I guess before one last point, it's the work in progress. It'll be coming before our board in the coming months, hopefully sooner than later. But what we want to make sure it's done, when we address it, that we can put it to bed, that we can put this thing down. So if it takes just a little bit more, I know Taryn and myself, we're committed to do what it takes to make it right for the commissioners and the Martin County Board of Education.
Thank you. I'm just curious, are there any issues outstanding that you need direction from either the school board or the county commission in where you are now moving forward to get this wrapped up?
You know, the biggest thing when you're updating something or having changes, I just want to ask the whole community to know, if they hear some data, don't jump to a quick conclusion. Ms. Krista and I are working carefully with this. It takes a little bit of time, but the goal is, I guess, if any group out there, say I talk with a few with the playground, say, if those are intact, we want to keep those intact. So we just want to make sure there's no misconception like that goes away. So when this new is completed, we will transition it carefully, and we'll all be on the same page. So we're not going to say at this point no to anyone or something ends. Anything that's existing, some may just seamlessly roll over, but we put current costs, current data. We make it, instead of 1980, we make it 2021.
Commissioner Heatherington?
I just want to say thank you. I haven't been working on this as many years as some of you, but it looks like we've made a lot of progress. And the resident feedback I hear is they want, as much open access to these public spaces as we could provide for them. So it looks like we're going in the right direction, and with the goal of providing that access that the residents are requesting. So appreciate your work on it, everybody that's been involved, and look forward to hopefully getting something drafted and agreed upon very soon.
If I could speak to that, you bring up a good point. We want to be as careful in how the community use our facilities. One, we know the community wants to use certain aspects. The community at large knows they want their schools during the day, particularly, very safe for our students. We've had the legislature act on that. We have some of the safest schools in Florida. I say we have the safest and best program. We're not only the best school district, but we have the safest school district in the state of Florida. It's been acknowledged just recently when they've come and visited. If you look at all the procedures that we have, our board has been committed to that, but we want to stay that. So we're going to have that balance. So I guess back to Ms. Powers said, anything we need people to know, as we walk through this closely, if it takes a little time, it's not that we're saying no. We may say, whoa, let us examine the impact. Let us examine the impact so we can make this as good as possible. So that's our goal.
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you very much. Dr. Millay, welcome. Very happy to have you here. A couple of very brief points. First off, I'd like to personally say thank you to you and to the board members and to the staff that worked with Commissioner Smith and I on the Wildcat Playground and the Jensen Beach Playground. I know that as you build those new elementary schools, it was complicated and the process was challenging on, do you keep them exactly where they are? Do you try to move them? And I happened to come, as Commissioner Smith did and Ms. Krista, to your meeting, and I appreciate the outcome of those decisions. I know they weren't easy necessarily, but leaving those historic and those iconic playgrounds in place was very reassuring to all of us that worked hard on building them, and then for the future families that'll get the opportunity to use them. So I like and appreciate that you maneuvered the plans of the sites while you still could, and I know it was right down to the wire, but while you still could, to leave them in place, that was very reassuring for those of us that worked on them. I did have the opportunity to go back and watch the video of your most recent workshop, and I appreciate the level, I guess, at that workshop level where you really dig in with your staff on exactly what is what, down to, the floor refinishing costs and the frequency of floor refinishing. The couple of points that I have heard from constituents is that most of what we're talking about here in the collaboration between school sites and the county, some of it's not actually the county. Our Parks and Rec department doesn't need to use your facilities, not at all. Sometimes we do, but most of what I am advocating for, and I believe my colleagues are as well, are the same constituents that you have. And in this particular case, it's youth athletic leagues. These are run by volunteers, and for their own family members, it's an opportunity for the children and the parents to sort of be involved in a multitude of different sports. But for a lot of the community, it's the only opportunity that some of their kids get. And I want to be careful that when we collaborate and we talk about cost sharing and recouping expenses that might be outlaid by the district or the county, that we don't lose sight of the fact that if we make these opportunities too expensive for the leagues, I know that even and we have that same issue with our own Parks and Rec department. If we nickel and dime, for lack of a better expression, these leagues, I know some of them have to fundraise year-round, even after their seasons are over, to not only make up the money that's going to be necessary to operate their leagues during the season. We all understand that they give away tremendous scholarships to families that cannot afford to pay. And I know that there's certain costs involved in running the leagues. We all understand that, the uniforms, the equipment, the officials, and things like that. But if the district and the county start, you're going to pay for the lights, you're going to pay for the bathroom, you're going to pay for the concession, you're going to pay to stripe the fields, you're going to pay to have someone come and unlock the gate, we're going to kill some of these leagues. And I know they've all been suffering, like we talked about the coronavirus and the negative effect it's had on the district and the county and our revenue generation. These leagues are struggling at a time where I personally believe the kids need it most. They need to see their friends. A lot of them are virtual or learning remotely. They need to get out of the house. The parents need the kids to go somewhere and burn off some energy. Some of these kids, the opportunity for scholarships has been struggling now with the pandemic. You can imagine if you were a junior and senior in high school and your goal was to show potential colleges that you were an excellent athlete to get a free or reduced tuition, those opportunities are gone. I've spoken to several league organizers that said the advantage to the school district, if you will, is think of these elementary school level athletic programs as farm teams for middle school sport teams and definitely for high school sport teams. If you don't have lacrosse, basketball, football, baseball, these kids don't learn those early skills to be able to be superstars at Martin County or Jensen or South Fork high schools for athletic teams, which will come back. So I just want to be cautious that in an effort to balance the spreadsheets, we don't make this a financially impossible for our youth leagues. What they are doing for free for us, we will either forfeit or the district and the county would have to pay someone else to do. So I want to be careful about that. And I appreciate, Mrs. Powers, this has been a passion for you to steer this for years, and I know you have the support of your colleagues, and I feel the same way. We've been at this so long that when we originally started it, my youngest were in middle school, and now they're sophomores in college. So I want to make sure for the generations of the kids, Commissioner Smith has a brand new baby. I want to make sure for
She might just make it.
yeah, I want to make sure that she has these opportunities. And the final thing, I know that during the pandemic, we're in a bit of a pinch, but like we said, after the medical rationale of this issue, the impact medically, socially, our young people are struggling. I think we can all agree on that. There's a lot of emotional distress going on. At Hidden Oaks Middle School, I know that you can't have them necessarily inside the gymnasium, But one of the areas that we are going to collaborate on is the outside basketball courts. And originally, the courts were locked, and the kids were so desperate to get out there and just burn off some energy or see their friends that they were climbing the fence of, 10-foot tall fence. That shows me how desperate they were to use those facilities. And what ended up happening in an effort, because I guess I get that you don't want these kids climbing the fence and falling off, they removed the backboards and the hoops. I would have had a different strategy that said, let's open up these gates. If they need to be supervised by a volunteer or something, I'd rather do that than we made it so certain that the kids could not come there. Where do they go then? And if they're not playing basketball, what are they doing? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Campy.
I might just finally add, whatever that is, and any of these local agreements, the that's what we want to sit down and work out. That is exactly, we want to make sure that our constituents understand our safety needs, your budget needs, our budget needs, and that we work together. I guess I'll finally say this. I'm an outsider, now insider, part of Martin County. History's always written, and it's going to be written here. And in 20 years from now, I really hope, just me, new to the community, we see a new city that's popped up. We have another side of this, a new development coming in that will change the city. And we have the Hope County at a crossroads, and the schools in the middle of it. I hope it's really written that people look back, that we work together, and that we try to keep some unity among this. Because growth, even the best growth, causes friction. So we have to manage our friction and not fall into rumors, because I just share that on behalf of the school and school board members, because they care what people say, and if things circulate, just give us time to work through the problems. Our chairman is very keen on having problems solved, so we communicate regularly.
Commissioner Smith, did you
Thank
have
you.
something?
No,
Okay.
thanks.
Commissioner?
Another point of view, I just want to reassure the school board that it's not my intent to do any programming at your facilities. I think that my first priority is giving taxpayers access to their facilities. And my first priority would be in those schools that are embedded in residential neighborhoods like Port Salerno, that those facilities, outside facilities, and all just outside facilities, that they're made open for recreation for the kids who live in the neighborhood. I'm not interested in doing any programming in your facilities.
I think we all share that as well. Thank you, Commissioner Hurd, and I think we all agree with you. Are there any other comments on this item? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Dr. Millay. We're very excited to see something come back to us in the future. Next, we have the dashboard update. Nicole Fisher and Dr. Tracy Miller from the school district. This is a really exciting tool that the school district put in place to have a lot of really great data available to the general public, and it changes and is updated in real time. So it's really exciting.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, local officials. Tracy Miller, Chief Academic Officer in the Martin County School District. And today we are featuring, as Mrs. Powers said, our data dashboards. These are public dashboards available. You're seeing in real time our team. This is Nicole Fisher, our Director of Assessment and Accountability. And we have Jonathan Hawker from our ET department. They are the leads on this project, and you're seeing them pull up in real time on our district website, www.martinschools.org, these public dashboards, and they're going to walk you through several of them this morning. There is so much detail here. We obviously don't have the time this morning to share all of that with you, but they will give you an overview and take you through some of our COVID data and those updated enrollment numbers that you were asking about. So thank you. Nicole?
Good morning. Thank you for having us. You can access these public data dashboards on martinschools.org, as Dr. Miller said, and we have, I think, seven public dashboards available. So we wanted to first look at the overview dashboard. So the functionality on this is to click where that arrow is, and it takes you to further pages. So this is interesting. It's a map of all of the school district's facilities within the county. When you hover over each of the circles, it shows you more information. So here, this is South Fork High School. It gives you the school number, that it's a high school, the principal's name, tells you if it's a Title I school or not, has a picture of the school, and then gives you some information about the number of students, the percent that are minority, the percent that are free and reduced lunch, and their most recent school grade. So you can hover over each site. Let's look at somewhere in the North County. So there's Jensen Beach Elementary. Again, principal name, number of students, all of the same data. We have our adult sites are on here as well. How's work going? Indiantown Adult High School with data for each of the sites. We originally created this for the new superintendent so he could be really familiar with where the schools were located and just a brief data about each site. You could also filter here by school type. For example, if you wanted to just look at elementary schools, and the data updates to just show you the elementary schools in the county. You could look at elementary schools in the city of Stuart, and it further makes the data a little bit smaller. So you can use the filters to also pinpoint exactly what you wanted to look at. The right arrow click again yields you some information about school grades. We didn't have school grades last year in 1920 because assessments were canceled. It seems like we will have school grades in 2021, and so we will add that data when we get it. Here you can see for each school in the district, their school grade for the last 5 years that we have school grades. And then this dashboard contains enrollment data. So there's lots of information on here. Basically, every piece of data that you'd want to know about our schools is here. And so this is for the district. At the top, you can include charters or not include charters. Sometimes we have to report data including charters and sometimes without charters. So we included that feature here. And then you can see here enrollment data. One thing you have to watch with the system that we use, this looks like a really giant drop, and it's 400 basically, so we don't control the scaling of the graph, so it's always helpful to look at the number. Shows you enrollment by grade, by race, by English language learner status, by ESE, which is exceptional student education, and then by gender. If you click again, here you have a filter for school. So you can select the school you would like to see. So we changed it to Crystal Lake from Bessie Creek, and our data changed. And this gives you all kinds of information about each school. And this is on our public dashboard. So for parents who are sending their children to school in the district, they can find out a lot of information about their child's school this way. So historical enrollment, free and reduced lunch, minority, and then we did percent remote and percent traditional for each school. So you can see in our elementary schools, we have a really low percent of remote students right now.
So can I interrupt you 1 minute, Nicole?
Sure.
So if you see that number there that says overall at Crystal Lake, there's 491 students. That's as of last night. And if you look at the chart that was given to us, that number from October was 465, just so you can. Thank you.
Yep, and again, racial breakdown or historical enrollment, so it shows you over time, and then historical enrollment by gender. So you could filter this and look at every site in the district this way. So the next dashboard was the enrollment dashboard, and similar data that we just saw, just presented a different way, very colorful way. So this report displays active students in pre-K through 12, and it does include charters. So this is truly the whole district, pre-K through 12. So you can see 18,255 students. Shows you a racial breakdown, a breakdown by English language learner status, by gender, and then bottom quartile data, free and reduced lunch, and then the traditional and remote. Here your only filter is a school, so that you can, sure, select Anderson. You can select the school and the data changes to just reflect that school. Internally, we've built more robust data dashboards that go down to the student level. We obviously can't show those for privacy purposes. They're not public. Right, and you could select multiple schools. So if you wanted to look at Anderson and Hidden Oaks together, or you wanted to group all 5 middle schools together, you could to see the data for those schools. Oh, and the reset page. We have this on all of our reports. It just resets the page back to no filters being selected. Our COVID dashboard that we showed you last time, you all know how this works. We're just showing you the numbers right now. So 240 cases, 85 staff, and 155 students. These are cases for people that are in-person school and that are reported to us by the Department of Health. And only quarantines that are related to those identified cases and verified by the Department of Health are reported. So currently, there are 155 active quarantines in the district. I don't think so. And then the last report I wanted to highlight was the traditional remote. We've had this report from the beginning, basically, of school, which has been really helpful for us in tracking the percentage of students we have in person and the percentage of students we have remote and how that's changed over time and by school. And so this is the attendance page, so you can see that in-school attendance is slightly lower than remote attendance. And we look at days of the week, which Monday and Friday are typically the lowest for attendance. There's a date slider here, so you could look at a date range if you were interested in that. And then a school filter. So if you just wanted to look at a certain school, you can see, again, the scaling on these line graphs is sometimes a little misleading. So this looks very large, and it's 8 percentage points. On the bottom of this report, there's multiple pages. If you click the arrow to number 2, this shows you enrollment over time. So remote enrollment over time and traditional enrollment over time. We're at all schools, so we're currently at 78% in-person traditional and 22% remote. In August, we were at 38% remote and 62% traditional. We have had a lot of students come back to in-person learning. And here you can see the numbers. In 12th grade, looks like we have the closest number of remote and traditional. Our highest remote numbers are in high school. And this is for grades. So basically, what's interesting, if you click quarter 1, and then look over here at this bar graph, you can see that traditional students had higher grades, higher average grade than remote students by a little bit. And then if you clicked quarter 2, the gap grew a little bit larger. And currently in quarter 3, the gap is even larger. So we are encouraging students to come back to in-person instruction. They are faring better in school when they are in school. Anybody have any questions? It's a lot of data, probably more than a lot of people need to see, but it is all there and available to the community should they want to see it.
Commissioner Clark?
Hi. Hi, good morning. The one before this, you had put out you mentioned about COVID. I just wanted to ask your procedures, because it seemed like you got your number, I think you said, from like the health department. And I was trying to figure out if somebody comes, like a student or a teacher, and if they have a temperature, does the class get stopped and does the student and the teachers go away, or do you wait until their test comes back? What actually happens in how you deal with COVID in the school system on a daily basis?
Yes, Dr. Miller.
So that's a great question. We have what we call the quarantines, and those teams consist of school site, district staff, and the Department of Health. And ultimately, when there's health decisions to be made, the Department of Health is the group that we rely upon. So when there is a positive case, someone tests positive for COVID-19, then there is contact tracing. That person obviously goes home, whether they're an employee, whether they're a student. and they stay home for the required amount of time and take care of themselves and get well according to the protocols that the health department and the CDC has put in place. And when they're able to come back, when they're cleared to come back, they are able to come back either to work or to school. In terms of those around them, the CDC guidelines, again, are followed, and we very carefully determine who was a close contact of the person who tested positive, and only those close contacts are sent to quarantine for the recommended amount of time to stop the spread of COVID here in our schools and, of course, here in Martin County. So we are very grateful for our partnership with Department of Health Martin, and we are very grateful to the school staff because we in Martin County, we are very surgical about how we go about this. If someone tests positive, we don't clear out the entire school, the entire room. We want to make sure that only those who are required to go into quarantine do so. And we want to make sure that all those who could possibly be impacted are notified and that they take the proper procedures to keep themselves and others well.
And that has been successful? You've been maintaining your numbers?
Yes, ma'am. It has been very successful, and we are very deliberate about following our procedures and very deliberate about making sure that they are followed accurately, effectively, and quickly to ensure that we are not contributing to the spread. And in our schools, I think when months and months ago, when schools were getting ready to open, there was this fear that schools would become super spreaders and that someone would be impacted with COVID-19 and it would spread rapidly throughout the schools. And we have actually, our data shows that that's actually not the case at all. It's very contained. And we are seeing that really the COVID-19 issues are coming in from outside of the school. They're not generating within the school. It's happening that people are impacted or infected outside of school and then coming to school and causing us to quarantine the numbers that you've seen there. But those quarantines are because those people were in close proximity or close contact as defined by the CDC in terms of someone who has been infected or diagnosed with COVID-19.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Are there any other questions about the dashboard? And if anybody would like a tutorial, I know that Nicole is always happy to share. Nicole and our technology department have worked really hard on this and put together some great resources for the community and for us as school board members and staff of the school board to have this at your fingertips as a principal too. At school sites is really helpful. So if you would like any more information on that, you can reach out to Nicole or Dr. Miller or one of the school board members, and we'll get that information for you. So thank you. Okay, moving on to the school district legislative priorities. I'm not going to read through these. We've attached them. They're very similar to what we have done in the past. We're really excited in the governor's proposed budget. There is additional money for per student funding, which is really exciting, and also for mental health, which we have seen a huge increase in mental health needs in our schools as directly being impacted by COVID. So those are two exciting things that obviously we'll see what comes out in the final budget, but our priorities seem to be rising in comparison with the governor's priorities, so that's good news, and hopefully the legislature will see that as well. Commissioner
I
Clark?
have a legislative comment when you're done with
Okay,
your-
no, go ahead, please.
Are you done?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so it's a good thing that you brought up the legislative comments. I've met with Dr. Malay, and I've mentioned this to him, but as you are all aware, as elected officials and of course school board members, February is traditionally Black History Month, and in our Florida legislature under Florida statutes 1003.42 section H has language in that legislation to provide for, and I'll read it, the history of African Americans, including the history of African peoples before the political conflicts that led to the development of slavery, the passage to America, the enslavement experience, abolition, and the contributions of African Americans to society. Instructional material shall include the contributions of African Americans to American society. And I know that that legislation also includes, right before that in section G, about the history of the Holocaust. It also includes in section H about community health. And I know that the schools have systems like where the students take the little 5-pound baby home flour, whatever it is, and they use these things to learn about health and development. We have the tobacco program where students are learning. We have the DARE program. We have character counts. And all of those things are listed in the statutes. And all of those programs I see are implemented in the school. And I'm wondering if our school board has a similar model or program to help with the teaching of African American history as dictated or mandated by the state legislature, just like how we have the character counts program or the DARE program. I just wanted to know if we have something that either we've developed on our own or if we've developed from a state model, and what is it and how is it being used to educate all of our students?
Dr. Miller can address that.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Yes.
Thank you for your question. We actually have developed a wonderful new partnership within the last 2 years with Palm Beach County. As you all know, they're a much larger school district. They have departments specifically dedicated to African studies, Holocaust studies, and we have partnered with them to really take advantage of the opportunities that they provide for training for our teachers, training for our staff, and for their materials, and even some new courses that they have developed and offered that have been approved by the Florida Department of Education. So this is a great new partnership for us, and they've been thrilled to work with us. As you know, it's great when communities can work together and share resources to benefit all children. And so this is something that's been a wonderful, as I said, partnership with them in the Palm Beach County School District. We're very grateful, and so we are working to increase those opportunities for teachers and have actually included paid opportunities for teachers to participate in this professional development and opportunities to expand curriculum options within specifically our high schools and our middle schools to have courses specifically designed to really enhance the focuses that you mentioned.
And may I say, I don't know if I'm going overboard here, but Commissioner Hurd, I heard you talk about the parks and so on, but I know that in your district in Port Salerno, there's a little old Port Salerno schoolhouse that has a long history of African American, I guess, history in Martin County, and I'd love to know if the school board is working diligently with the county to use that as some type of a classroom or a way to mandatorily get students involved, hands-on to see and learn about what happened in Martin County. And I know that Commissioner Hurd has been very, I guess, helpful in getting all that set up. The county's funds, it's a part of the park, I think it is, down there in Salerno.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, that's purely coincidentally, there's a meeting, an important meeting of the Historical Preservation Society the 8th of February at 4 o'clock. It's going to be in the chambers next door. And at that meeting, there's going to be a consideration for a state and federal designation for that one-room schoolhouse. So it would be terrific if the school board would show support for this endeavor, and hopefully Martin County will too. It's our asset, and we certainly want lots more people to understand that facility, its origins, who was educated there, how it was saved. It's a really important, arguably one of the most important historic structures in Martin County. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Dr. Millay?
Just want to share in regards to that facility. Not too long ago, I met with Board Member Tony Anderson, and we talked about some different issues, and he gave me a lot of links and materials, and I have researched, and there's a great video that I got to see, so I've been educated on that, so that is important. And I know that's something that we'll continue to work on.
I wish the school board would put that video up on their site for, if it's not there now, I think it's narrated by Carrie Anderson, especially for this Black History Month, at least, if you could try to do something to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments about this item? Okay, are there any final comments from any boards or commissions? Okay, seeing none, then we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all